is Matthew from Love Buddy. Today, let's see, what day is today? Today's Wednesday, May 22nd, 2019. Right now it's 10 a.m. here in the Philippines, and it's 10 p.m. on Tuesday night in New York City. And it's whatever time it is where you're at. Maybe you're in New York, maybe, let's see, I think I did a little research here. Vancouver, it's 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Chicago, it's 9 p.m. on Tuesday. Auckland, it's 2 p.m. And Sydney, it's noon. So how are you today? Hope you're having a wonderful day. Today's topic is about personal actualization, personal development, and how love is related to that, how love can have such an impact, and the real impact, the best, the strongest, the most reliable impact on your personal development. So if you're having trouble living the life you want to live, if you're having trouble living where you want to live, doing what you want to do for a living, if you're having trouble with interacting with others, if you're having trouble finding yourself and getting in touch with your dreams and living those dreams, making those dreams a reality in your life, then love is the foundation for that. Love is where you get the ability, the skills, the knowledge, the know-how, the power, the motivation, the map for how to do that, how to navigate who you are in this world. But first, you've got to know, you've got to be in touch, you've got to listen. One of the qualities of love is listening, being calm, being quiet, listening to your heart. Now, listening to others. I've gotten a lot of advice through the years. When I was started being a computer consultant. And one of the companies I worked at was Hewlett Packard for a couple of years. I worked at Charles Schwab as a consultant, but I'm not a high school graduate. I got the certificate for graduation, but I quit school when I was about 16. And I'm self-educated. Some of us, we really want that, need that structure that school gives us for learning. For me, it was nothing but a deterrent. I started going to the library when I was about 7 years old, I think, able to get a library card, and I would check out books on plants, and I was interested in plants and how they grew, and I was trying to develop a new plant strain. So I was kind of in touch with my own adventuresome at a young age, my own sense of adventure, and I was interested in living my dreams. I heard about Thomas Edison, and he was my first hero. Since then, I've heard some things about Thomas Edison that make him look like kind of a bad guy from a certain angle, but he also brought a lot of wonderful things, wonderful inventions to the world. And I thought, I want to do something good for the world. That's like my first earliest self-concept was, we've got this huge world with all these people. I want to do my part. I want to, contribute as much as I possibly can. And my dream would be to really come up with something that's really going to be helpful to the world and to other people. And so when I heard about Thomas Edison and inventing the different things that he did, the light bulb, which is controversial, right? Some people say he didn't invent the light bulb at all. His workers pretty much invented most of his inventions. But he was a leader, and he created the environment for that, and he created a lot of the motivation for that. But anyway, the inventions that he brought to the world really benefited the world. I thought, wow, I want to invent something. Well, as it turns out, I wasn't quite capable of doing that. I didn't have his personality. But as life went on, I found different things that I could do, that I was interested in doing. And one of the things that I found was a good foundation for personal development is an inner compass. And where do you set that? Where do you set your center? What's your life center? Well, if your life center is about love, that's about nurturing. And you're going to nurture yourself. You're going to be aware of what you need. And just as we would nurture a baby or nurture a little plant, we know it needs sunlight, we know it needs water, we know it needs nutrition, it needs some safety, it needs the environment for growth. And it needs not to be constantly bothered. It needs to be listened to, and it needs to be allowed to grow. So if we're in touch with nurturing, the nurturing model and how that works, then we're able to do that with ourselves. We apply nurturing to ourselves, we apply nurturing to the world. And so one of the concepts that I came up with pretty early was having a guardian angel. And I thought that was a Catholic thing because I was born and raised Catholic until I was started studying the Bible more, and then I was jumping around and looking at different religions for what could I do? What's the best thing I could do to contribute to humanity through religion? And but originally being a Catholic, this idea of a guardian angel, I thought that came from Catholicism. My father believed in a personal relationship with Mother Mary, the mother of Jesus. And I never quite tuned into that myself. But I did feel like there's got to be a God watching over me. But the God that I had been taught about didn't seem to be working. It didn't seem, that kind of relationship didn't work for me. But more of a positive presence, more of someone watching over me. And I didn't know who that would be, but I felt like there's just some kind of a destiny. And so I've always felt like it's going to be okay when it comes to reaching your goals and being in touch with your dreams and wanting to live. If you look at the positive side of life, like Einstein mentioned, is the universe kind? We have to ask that. We have to ask that and answer that question. Do we feel like the universe is kind? Well, I decided early on, yes, the universe is kind. And I'm going to trust in and believe in and have faith in the universe because I believe it's based on love. Knowing that, we have an inner compass, we have a sense that everything's going to be okay, whether it's some kind of a personage or whether it's just a spirit or an idea. The idea that things are going to be okay is the same feeling as like someone's watching over me. And it gives you that inner confidence, that inner calmness, that inner feeling that, okay, it's going to be all right. Do you meditate? Meditation, I've been meditating off and on, I don't know, 30, 40 years. And I've always found that to be a very beneficial thing about getting in touch with yourself. If you want to develop who you are, you need to be able to be calm and relaxed. And I do it now every day, only 15 minutes. Don't have to overdo it. Maybe you want to do it longer or shorter, but for me, that's the right amount of time. Meditating brings kind of a calmness and a self-reflection. Coming up with a meditation course to share what I know about meditation and how meditation has worked for me. A lot of different meanings for the word meditation. A lot of different definitions of how different people can do it, how it can work in different ways for different people. So there are many ways of meditation that work, but generally, meditation is just a way to get in touch with yourself, with the universe inside, with the love inside, and to bring a calmness and a confidence and some direction to your day. Okay, do you listen to your heart? So this is another thing that's very similar to meditation. When you calm down, when you're able to really understand the importance of listening to your heart. I've been in some cultures. I was English teacher, and I worked all over China off and on for about 20 years. And I noticed that the people in the culture in China, most of the culture in China is not about self-actualization. In fact, they talk about Asia, being more of a group society as opposed to an individualistic society. Well, I guess either extreme is not great, right? Because we're not isolated, and we're not everyone else either. We're each individuals. So if you're in charge of your own life, you're going to be in touch with what your own personal dreams are. You don't know what they are. You're going to listen to your heart. And what I found in China when I would ask the kids and talk to the kids, or even adults, there wasn't really much awareness. There wasn't much focus on what is it about me uniquely as an individual that turns me on, that inspires me, that makes me want to go after something in life, pursue something, and really develop in a specific area. Any of the billion areas of interest and skills and contribution and joy that we could find. I didn't find it so much in that culture, in that society. And I think that is generally true about a lot of Asian countries that I've been to and observed, and others that I've heard about. So listen to your heart. That's vital to personal development. If you don't listen to your heart, if you don't have the ability to listen to who you are and say, oh, I really like horses, or no, I don't really want to work with animals at all. Or, one of the ways to listen to your heart is to be in touch with food. What foods do you like and what foods don't you like? It's a place to start. Gives you a reference point that, oh, okay, I can see. This kind of turns me on, this excites me. I can see that I'm really interested in having more shrimp for dinner or something like that. So you love shrimp and it's good for you. How about other aspects of life? Do you like the outdoors? Do you like to be inside doing something? Do you like writing? What kind of self-expression, creative self-expression, do you really get into? What do you like to watch? Do you like to watch sports, or do you like to, sometimes I'll go to a shopping mall or a busy place and I'll bring a notebook with me, or now I bring my phone with me to make notes about some project I'm working on. I just like to watch people. I like to be around other people. I don't like to be isolated by myself for too much. And if I am inside the house for a couple days, or even one whole day without going out, I've got to get out. I know that about myself. So you got to know these things about yourself. What's appropriate for you? What kind of an animal are you? Are you one that likes this or likes that? And once you listen to your heart, you get to know that. And your heart shares its dreams with you. When you listen to your heart, you'll be aware of what you really like, what truly turns you on. You'll know what your intentions are. What are your intentions regarding certain things? One of the things we might find in ourselves is a love for children. Children need nurturing. We all need nurturing, but especially children in the formative years. They need somebody to watch over them and guide them and nurture them like we all do. And they're especially vulnerable, and they're especially unaware of the world. They're learning about the world around them. So any kind of influence that children have at a young age can set a model for them. They'll think, okay, if everybody around me smokes cigarettes, for example, then they'll think, okay, that's a normal thing, that's a healthy thing, that's what we do. We smoke cigarettes. Or if people are being honest and open, they'll say, okay, well, that's the way it is. Our peer influences can be a huge factor in our formative years, and we might decide that's the way life is. And so if our intentions are to help children, for example, we'll know that, and we'll feel like, I want to be involved. I want to be a kindergarten teacher, or I want to open a daycare, or I want to be, maybe work in a community center where I help the kids learn sports and play sports together. So if you know what your heart is about, you know what you are about, you'll kind of know your intentions. You'll be able to follow that. I love to travel. And when it wasn't until I was about 24 that I really got a chance to travel all over the United States in a little car. I didn't have any money, and the car was kind of beat up, but I found a job that would allow me to do advertising at college campuses. And I remember telling my mother about that. And I said, I could earn as much as $1,000 a week. And she said, oh, Matthew, we can't earn that kind of money. That's impossible. A couple of weeks later, I was doing it. So we don't always listen, even to people close to us that have our best intentions. My mother, she loved me. She had my best intentions in her heart, but her influence, her guidance, her feedback was not valuable to me at that point. So we need to be able to listen to our own heart. And I traveled around the country, and I made a pretty good living doing that. And I really enjoyed, seeing the country. And then later on, I've had a chance to visit about 50 different countries. So I really like traveling. I really like getting exposed to different cultures and seeing different places. And I feel like it's given me a good perspective on different possible ways of living, and especially different perspectives on personal development. And I've been able to see blocks in people where people are not able to develop. Now we have to look at the very important factor of environment and networking. For example, the people in America that I've known that come from a family that has a lot of resources, they have money, they have connections, they have a network, and they're the well-to-do people that are kind of in their own kind of little universe. And they're not aware of someone who's in sub-Saharan Africa who has to walk 10 miles every morning to get some dirty water for the family because they don't have clean water available. This thing, their concept is kind of like get a job, I spoke with someone the other day, a real estate owner who said, poverty is a choice. Some people can rise above that. It's kind of like saying winning the Olympics is a choice or winning the lottery is a choice. It's not that simple. So what I want to introduce here is the reality of the environment that we're in, the resources that we have. Now, what we're able to do as individuals, as a conscious individual, is we can change our environment. So, for example, the people when I went from Los Angeles to Chicago, the people that I knew in Chicago generally were not very liberal compared to Los Angeles. Los Angeles, when I went out there, I was, involved in marijuana smoking and different kinds of religions. People were trying all these kind of new age and self-help types of things, different kinds of foods, health foods, and there's all these. All of this was a great environment in Los Angeles to experiment, and in California in general, with all different types of lifestyles and ideas. And there was a lot of freedom around that. There was a lot of liberty around being able to try which one. Chicago was quite the opposite, and I was so glad to get out of there because I felt like that was really limiting. And the people that I talked to, the feedback, the advice that I got, the insight that I got was incredibly limiting to me. And I felt like I was kind of in a straitjacket in that particular culture where I was in Chicago. Although there are a lot of very liberal people in Chicago that are experimenting with different ideas about life and lifestyles and things like that. Where I was, no, there wasn't any of that at all. So when we have these blocks in our minds where, I can't do that or I can't do that, this isn't right, religion a lot of times can provide a lot of blocks to say, it's not right to look into that, it's not right to, and I kind of broke out of that mold of religion, those limitations, those walls of religion, and I wanted to consider the fact that other religions might be true, because there are hundreds of millions of people that worship this or that or do that. How can all of them be wrong? How could I be right and all of them be wrong? Well, I realized there was one umbrella idea about religions, and then some religions get very specific and very demanding and make up stories and take stories and legends from the past about how you should never do this or do that. But the overall umbrella, which you probably know, is love. That's the general idea, but that can get really twisted and it can get really distorted. But if we're in touch with that, we're in good shape. And that can remove whatever blocks that we might have culturally, things like fear. All blocks, confusions, fear, and fears dissolve in the presence of love. So if we look at some of the qualities of love, it can help us to have some guidance about personal development. Love is the answer to everything. The qualities of love are some specific ideas about how we can apply love in our lives and how it automatically dissolves problems and blocks that could come in the way. So just to finish up that point about your environment, it's vital to understand that some people are limited by their hopes and dreams. They're limited by being able to actualize by blocks in their mind and their physical environment. I mean, if you're a kid who lives in a small village in sub-Saharan Africa, for example, your chances, your opportunities are so much at the other end of the scale compared to someone who's born to a rich family in New York and they go to an Ivy League school. I mean, look at the difference about opportunities for earning money or starting a business or being able to travel, meet different people, have different experiences. I've come across people that grew up going to plays, enjoying the theater, studying Greek mythology, I never had time for that. And I never had the resources for that. And I'm not recommending that at all, but I'm saying that some of us have a whole lot of time on our hands. So a lot of us are just scraping by to survive. Either way, on the end of the scale where someone is born into an environment where they have so many resources, they still don't know their dreams necessarily. They're still not contributing to society necessarily. They're still not really actualizing. They just have opportunities. They have a lot of resources to deal with, but they don't necessarily know their heart anymore. And they might be super confident because of their stature in society, their place in society, being a have as opposed to a have not. They might be so confident, so arrogant that they really don't know who they are, and they never found out who they were. And they're not really living a life of contribution or of meaning. Their life is meaningless because after you get that fancy car, and you get if you're a man, you get a trophy wife, as it's called, or you get the big house with the pillars out front. It can feel pretty empty. And I've been around people. I've had the opportunity to live in this kind of an empty lifestyle where there was just no substance. When I was living in San Francisco and I was an IT consultant, my peers were buying SUVs, although they never went to the mountains, and you don't need a four-wheel drive on the city streets. They were buying houses. They were buying designer clothes for their babies. And they never really realized, they had no clue what was in their heart. I got out of there. I went to China in 1999. And I got exposed to another way of living. And it blew my mind open to different cultures and how limited I had been. Even though I had lived in America, I lived in Los Angeles, Chicago, and Florida, and Georgia, and been all over the country. That mindset was still very limited to me. And it wasn't until I got slapped in the face by Southern China and that lifestyle, and that whole different set of values and perspective on life. It's just a whole different world. They create a different world through their thinking, and they live a different world. And when you get into that, when you really get into that, I'm not talking about going to China and living in a five-star hotel and having some English-speaking Chinese tour guide show you the Great Wall. That's not visiting China. You've never been to China. There are people who live in Beijing that are from America or the UK, and they work for some company that has an office in China. Every day they go to an area called Sanlitun, and they sit in the bars and they speak English. They're in China for 10 years, they never learned Chinese. But for me, because I went to China, not through the help of any company, and I had Chinese friends, and I had to learn to speak the language just to get by. I really got into the culture. So if you've been in different countries, whether you're in the military, which is also a very, very isolated culture, you never really see the country. You are in the military, and then you go on leave, and you get a chance to go in town and do this or that, but you never really get to know the country. So these different environments can really open your mind. And once your mind is open, you really have a choice to say, it takes off these blinders and these limitations and these blocks. So anyway, I want to get back to these, after mentioning these blocks that we have, whether they're in our mind, or whether they're in our culture, or whether they're geographic blocks that stop us from knowing who we are, being able to live our dreams and know what our real dreams are, which is not just to be rich. That's never a real dream. That doesn't count. But billions of people that are in poverty, that's the only dream they know, because they've never really had a chance to explore, who am I individually? I'm not just a guy who wants to be rich. What is it about me that I want to explore, that I want to share with the world, that I want to develop, that I want to actualize? Okay, so some of the qualities that come from love. There are 68 qualities of love that are on the lovebuddy.com website, and that you can see some links here in the notes. And I picked out a few of them, although so many of them contribute to self-actualization. to personal development. And if you focus on these, I guarantee you for sure, if someone gets themselves out of a horrible situation, economically, or a horrible environment, and they're able to rise above, maybe they're from a very abusive family, or they're from extreme poverty, or any kind of environment that just isn't nurturing and allowing a person to grow. Once they get out of that, the way they get out of that is with these qualities of love. Could be in many, many different ways, but there are always these qualities of love in common. Love is that universal. And when we understand these qualities of love, we can focus on them and benefit from them. If we're not aware of the qualities of love, we might stay stuck in our rut and frustrated with our surroundings forever, and live our whole lives in kind of a mental prison, and live our whole lives in kind of a horrible circumstances, and then die that way, never really having a chance to know who we are and how we can contribute to the world, and how we can have personal joy and happiness in our own lives. One of them is qualities here is being active, or in this case will be being proactive, taking the initiative, not staying stagnant, but seeing something that has to be done and being actively pursuing the dreams in our heart, being calm inside. When we're calm inside, we can listen to ourselves. We can listen to our heart. Don't listen to anybody else's heart. Don't listen to anybody else's. I can give you a dozen examples where I was trying to make a major life decision, and I didn't have a lot of confidence. I've always felt like there was always something for me to learn that I didn't know that perhaps other people knew. When I got to a certain age, I realized that they didn't really know at all, but some people really speak with confidence. And especially they didn't know about me. So when I was told I couldn't be an IT consultant because I didn't go to college, and then I started getting jobs and experience and knowledge as an IT guy. It's an area that I loved and still love. It's an area that I had some talent for and some ability, but I didn't have the formal education for that. But that didn't stop me from being a high-paid consultant, both in San Diego for many years and owning my own IT firm with as many as 14 employees at one time, or in San Francisco as a consultant there, making as much as $100 an hour back in the 90s. And then when I realized there was no fulfillment really for that, all I was doing was studying all the time and working all the time, and the things that people were buying with the money they were making, I had no interest in that. So I quit all that at the height of the dot-com boom in '99. And I said, this is all has no value to me whatsoever. This lifestyle is not what I want. And I went to China, and I was able to pursue more what I was interested in. I became an English teacher, and I became a traveler. So anyway, this calmness helped me to listen to my heart and say, I don't care. People said, hey man, my closest friends say, you should be driving a BMW. What are you driving a Saturn for? You should be doing this. You should be getting a young lady as your wife or whatever. But the women that I met were not interested in the same things that I was interested in. And at the time, I had so much adventure and so much learning ahead of me that it was good that I just kind of stayed single anyway. But none of that worked for me. So listening to my heart, being calm inside, really helped me to say, wait, this is not for me. And when we have this realization, wait, that's not for me. That thing that those guys are doing, that they are so confident that this is what you're supposed to do and be, that's not for me. And you realize that there could be a whole different lifestyle in a whole different geographical location, or a whole different mindset, or a whole different set of values. Wow. It's like a bird being let out of the cage. It's a difference between night and day in your life, and suddenly you're free to pursue who you are. But you'll never get that realization until you listen to your heart, and until you have that awareness that, wait, this is my destiny. Someone's watching over me. Something or something is going to guide me to be the greatest version of me that I can possibly be. And it's not what I've been doing. It's not this life that's been handed to me. It's up to me to hand myself a whole different life, a whole different set of circumstances. Communicating, the third one here, is about that. Being able to communicate to other people, communicate with yourself, part of listening. And it's part of telling yourself, oh, okay, I'm not going to have that anymore because that gives me an upset stomach. As simple as what you eat. But I'm not going to go to this. I'm not going to go to bars anymore. There was a time when I was a kid and I was into dancing, and it was just like Saturday Night Fever days. And at a certain point, I realized, wow, that bar scene, that's not me at all. But I thought that was the cool thing to do. I like the music and I like dancing and I like the pretty girls, and I like drinking. I liked drinking and getting a little bit tipsy, I enjoyed that kind of a crazy feeling. But after a while I realized, wait, this isn't me. This is what I want to do. Maybe it was a phase and it was an experiment, but that's not me. I don't go to bars anymore. Okay, so you're communicating with the world, you're communicating with yourself. This is such a powerful tool to self-actualization because you're able to understand and you're able to project your own thoughts, your own ideas. Hey, can I get a different seat because I don't want to sit by the window or whatever? You're able to talk with people around you. Hey, do you know anybody around who's got a car for sale? Or, hey, do you know a place where we can live that's got an ocean view? And this ability to communicate can get you what you want to have in life. Do you know anybody who has a gallery? Because I like to paint and I want to be able to show my paintings at the gallery. This ability to communicate is vital and it's foundational to being able to have the life you want to have, to be able to self-actualize. Being conscious, being aware of the situation, when you're conscious and when you're awake, and not living in the dream world, but being aware of your dreams, right? So there's a balance there. You know what you want, you're not seeing it right now, but you're going towards that. It's like an airline pilot. He's in Los Angeles. He knows he's in Los Angeles, but he wants to go to New York. So he's aware of what he needs to do that, but he knows where he is. He's conscious about where he's at. At the same time, he has that goal, that vision to get to New York safely and in a reasonable amount of time. We can have the same thing. We need to be conscious, but also aware of our dreams and our goal and what we're striving towards. If we're aware of empowering ourselves, empowering is the next one. We need to empower ourselves. If I want to be an actor, I should probably live in Hollywood or be near Hollywood, have it easy to get there. I've got to empower myself by meeting the right people, by hanging around the right people, by learning my craft, learning my trade. It's probably hard for you to become an actor if you're in a small town in Arkansas, because that's not the center of the movie industry. So what you want to do is you want to be geographically in the right place. You want to know the right people. You want to have the resources that you need, whatever they are, to reach your dream. When I was in China, I wanted to see more of the world. And I had no money with which to do this. I couldn't buy my own airplane tickets, but I wanted to travel, and I had only visited a few countries by that time. But I was asking around, I was looking, and I had this intention. I want to travel the world. I don't know how it's going to happen, but that's my goal, that's my dream, that's what I want to do. I want to be exposed to more cultures. And I ran across a guy who was an American, originally from Africa, Nigeria, and he introduced me to some people that needed somebody who could speak Chinese and could travel for them. And so on their money, I got a chance to see a huge part of the world. And the intention, having that intention to want to do that was much more important than fighting over the details. Because when I have the intention to go across the street, I don't know how I'm going to get across the street necessarily. Maybe there are cars, maybe there's no crosswalk, maybe there's something in the way, there's construction or a barrier or something like that. I don't know how that's going to happen, but the first thing I need to know is, this is my intention, this is what I know I want to do. And then you look for an opportunity. There are opportunities, and you find, oh, here's a break in traffic, there's a red light. Now there are no cars, I can go across now. Suddenly the avenues open up for us. But if I don't really know where I want to go and I'm complaining about the traffic, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just complaining about the traffic and the logistics. Logistics clear and open up when we know where we want to go. The logistics automatically handle themselves once we have the intention. I want to be a painter, even though maybe I've lost the use of my arms. And there are famous painters that painted with their feet, right? So there's no barrier that's too big. There's no impossible thing to happen. Once we know what our intention is, the world is clay. The world is completely moldable. There's absolutely nothing that can't be overcome, nothing that can't be gotten around, nothing that can't be actualized once we know what it is that we want. So don't worry about the logistics and things like that. Empower yourself so that you can be in a position so that you can get there. And even though one morning I woke up, I was about 20 years old, and I was living in Los Angeles, and I woke up with an idea for a movie. And it was a movie that I wanted Mel Brooks to direct and co-write, and I wanted Gene Wilder as the star. And so anybody else that I talked to, they would have said, "How are you going to talk to Mel Brooks? You're nobody." And I am nobody. I was nobody. But I asked around. I said, "How do I do that? I got this movie idea," and I started getting in touch with people. And they said, "Well, first you got to get it protected by the Screenwriters Guild." So I went and did that. Just a matter of submitting it and getting it signed, so they've got it in their records that I was the guy who came up with the idea. Because Mel Brooks is not going to meet with me unless I have the idea protected. I called Brooks Films, which was in Culver City. It was a lot, a movie lot, and I talked to his script editor, and she said, "Okay." I said, "Look, I got an idea for a movie." She said, "Okay, come and see me. And come and see her at 10 o'clock. And so I made an appointment, went to see her at 10 o'clock, got in the gate, went to her office. She had a note on the door. "Sorry, tried to reach you, had to run out of town at the last minute, and we'll set up an appointment another time." But I was there inside the building. And I started walking down the hall looking, well, where's Mel Brooks' office? And much better to talk to him directly. So there he was. He's having a big argument with some people, his secretary, some other people in an office. And I walked up to the woman who was sitting at the desk because I thought it was a little bit too arrogant or a little bit rude for me to walk up to Mr. Brooks directly. And I said, "Look, I had a meeting with Randy, and she's not there. And I said, here's my idea that I was going to talk with you about." She said, "You want me to give it to Randy?" And I said, "No, I want you to give it to Mel." And I know he overheard me, but I was trying to be respectful. She goes, "Okay, great, thanks a lot." And I got out of there, and I got a few paces down the hall back to my car. And I almost had a heart attack. Just think, wow, that was Mel Brooks. I can't believe it. And so anyway, I got down in my car. I said, "I'm not leaving here. I'm not leaving." And I went to the security guard and I said, there was an M. Brooks in the parking lot on one of the parking slots. And it said M. Brooks. And I thought that must be his car. And it was this 1978, I think, Honda Accord, this blue Honda Accord with the sunroof. And I thought, wow, he's not driving a Rolls Royce or something. I was kind of surprised, but he probably wanted to be anonymous, or maybe he's a really practical person. I don't know. But anyway, I said, "Hey, is that Mr. Brooks?" He said, "Hey, man, I can't tell you that." And I said, "Okay, but I'm going to wait for him to come down. Is that all right? I'm just going to sit in my car here." And he said, "Okay, no problem. You can sit there and wait." From 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., I sat in that car and I waited for him to come because I had this intention, I had this dream, I had this desire, I had this inspiration. He came down. I had folded up a copy of this movie idea and dropped it through his sunroof, and it was sitting on his driver's seat. So when he opened the door and he saw that piece of paper, he opened it and started reading it. I walked up to him and he was kind of startled, like, "Oh no, who is this guy?" And I said, "Mr. Brooks, I know it's been a long day for you. It's been a long day for me. I've been waiting to chat with you. I have this idea for a movie." Anyway, he was really nice. He was really helpful. In the end, the movie didn't come to fruition. It didn't happen. He told me, "Follow your dreams." I said, "Look, I just came up with this idea and I was really excited about it, but I'm more interested in other things." And he said, "Hey, follow your dreams. Don't do this because it's a long, hard road if you want to get into the movie business, and you got to really, really want to do that." But anyway, the guy stood and talked with me for about 20 minutes. Really polite, shook my hand. Mel Brooks, great experience. I was fearless. I was fearless at that time in that situation. Love is fearless. Love pursues its dreams regardless of any of the advice that you get around you. And I've gotten a lot of advice around me. Don't try that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. Love is inspired. You're motivated. Your heart is so powerful. Once you're in touch with your heart and the dreams of your heart, that is so powerful. It can get you through anything. You go through fire, firemen do that on a routine basis, don't they? Even though they're risking their own lives, they want to save that kid because that's my job. I have to get in there and get those people out. I have to save those lives. And they go through incredibly dangerous situations in order to fulfill their dreams and have meaning in their life and provide their service to the world and the service to themselves. Because our service to the world is our service to ourselves. Love is serving. Love is serving ourselves and serving others. We're in touch with what is our destiny, what is our true inner intentions in life. And that serves not only ourselves, it's like a bird loves to fly, a fish loves to swim. And if you're a painter, you just love to paint. You do that. That's who you are. That's what you do. And you've got to know what that is. But once you do that, you're fearless. Because that's who you are, and you just do that. Birds aren't afraid to fly. You've seen some of these baby birds that are hatched on the side of a cliff. There's a moment when they're barely formed enough that they jump out of that nest and they're tumbling and tumbling down the side of the cliff. They're barely able to fly. Sometimes they don't make it. But they're fearless because, hey man, I'm a bird. That's what I do. I fly, right? So if you know who you are, you're going to be fearless. And love is fearless because that's one of the qualities of love. When we're really in touch with love, when we're harmonizing and resonating with what true love is, we're going to be fearless because we're just going to pursue that because we know that's what my life, that's what I am all about. And there's no doubt. We're patient. Love is patient. It waits for the right time. It knows, okay, right now this is not the right time. I was filled with love and inspiration when I talked to Mel Brooks. And I knew that when I went in that office, it wasn't right to just confront him right there in the middle of an argument and say, hey, do you want to do my movie? Let's be a team. I had a pretty good clue that I was not, going to be looked upon as somebody who was going to pull a lot of weight in that environment and that circumstance. So I knew I had to be patient. I sat in that car. I don't even remember waiting. It was probably the shortest 7.5 hours I've had in my life. No big deal. So we're patient. We're able to wait for the right time. We're in harmony. We're in sync with the world. And we know the right time when we feel that. Why? Because we're in touch with our heart and we're in touch with the universe. And there's kind of a syncopation there. There's a harmony. So we're conscious. I already mentioned that. Being conscious is a vital thing. Being aware of what's going on around us. Being alert. Having integrity. Love has integrity. Love doesn't lie, manipulate, and trick, play games, deceive. Love doesn't do that. Love doesn't have to lie. Because when you have love on your side, you don't have to lie about anything. You don't have to put up a false front. You don't have to pretend. I didn't go in there in a suit and tie and say, hey, I'm the so-and-so from blah, blah, and make up some story. I could just be me because I knew that this was a great idea. And by the way, a similar movie came out a few years later that was done by a different actor. But some very similar theme called Scrooged. It was a spoof on A Christmas Carol. That was the idea that I had. It was a spoof on A Christmas Carol, but it had more of the team from Young Frankenstein, Gene Wilder, Madeline Kahn. So anyway, having integrity is such a vital thing. You don't have to you don't have to lie. You don't have to manipulate. You don't have to misrepresent yourself. You don't have to play games. Wall Street does that. Salesmen do that all the time because they're motivated by money. They're money-centered. And if you're money-centered, manipulation goes along with that. If money is the center. I'm not talking about people who want to earn a living. I'm talking about people who are motivated by money that want to get as much money as they can for the sake of money itself. That's a dead-end road. And that's what a lot of people are going for. But if you're love-centered, you don't ever have to lie. And you know that if somebody says, hey, you didn't even graduate high school, you didn't even go to college, that never stopped me from being an IT consultant. I never had a single person, a single client ask me about my education. Because I had people I could say, call these 5 clients of mine and see if they like my work or not. Ask me questions about what you want me to do. And I'll tell you, here's how I would handle this situation. I was able to communicate. And I was able to listen. And I worked for all kinds of companies, both in San Diego and San Francisco as a consultant. I was fearless. I was in touch with my heart. I was in touch with what I wanted to do. And I had integrity. I didn't have to deceive to get what I wanted. But people said, oh, you're never going to be able to do what you have to do. And I went to a university and I was tested thoroughly. And I was tested as someone who had a degree because I guess I picked up that knowledge along the way. And they said, look, here's you can get a computer science degree. And I looked at the curriculum, and the curriculum had nothing to do with what was happening in the industry at the time. I wasn't going to study COBOL. Even in 1984, COBOL was not the way where to put your focus. I think another language was called RPG. Was that right? It's been so long. And I didn't need to know those things. I didn't need to know what people used in those days, and that was BASIC and DBase. And I bought a couple books on that, and I studied that, and I tinkered with it. And when I had clients, when I started getting clients, I told them, I said, look, I'm not an expert in this. I'm still learning, so I'm going to charge you a lot less, and I'm just going to do my best for you. Is that okay? And we'll see if I'm able to do what you need to have done. And I was very lucky to meet some people that were willing to take a chance on me, and I was completely being honest with them, and I was able to serve their needs. And at one point, I was working at about 5 hospitals in San Diego as a consultant. I was really busy. But I was fearless. I had integrity. I wasn't deceiving anybody. I wasn't trying to be somebody that I wasn't. And that really helped a lot. Next one is learns. I was learning. Love learns. So if you want to self-actualize, if you want to become yourself, you've got to be open to new ideas and learning, because that's going to expand your mind, it's going to expand your possibilities, and it's going to give you an education, not a formal education in school, which I don't think a whole lot of, although it can be a wonderful thing. It sure wasn't something that has ever attracted me. I thought there is enough information in life for me to learn, and there are enough people who quit school because school got in the way. Some of the most famous people, most successful people that have brought so much change to the world in a positive way had no formal education at all. Or when they started to get it, because their family had the resources to put them in an Ivy League school, they dropped out because they didn't see the value of that. But learning is not about a formal education. That's kind of a block to learning. A lot of the time it can be a block to learning. I was always going to the library when I was younger, and now on the internet, you can get so much information. All the information is available to you. So to not be learning, to think that you somehow know the truth. There is no the truth. It doesn't exist. The world is dynamic and changing. If we have a foundation of love, we're able to ride through the storm. We're able to deal with the ups and downs. We're able to be flexible with all the changes. We're able to focus on our dreams and know what our dreams are and pursue those regardless of how things are changing. And things change. But learning gives us the flexibility. When in San Francisco, there were a lot of H-1B visa people that were coming in from other countries that would work for 25% of what I was working for. And these guys were great. These guys were really good. And God bless them, they deserved the opportunity to come in. They could send money to their family back home that was maybe their income was $1,000 a year, and they were able to earn money and send that back home and have a lifestyle that they could only dream of when they were in India, for example. A lot of these guys are from India. Sharp, great software dudes, way better than me. That's one of the reasons why I left, because I thought, I'm going to get out of here while the getting's good. I'm not going to protest. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to fight for my job, my right to have that job where I was earning more, really, than other people that could be more qualified to do a better job than I did. I don't want to do that anymore. I thought, okay, give those guys the opportunity. I've got to change. I've got to learn. I've got to find. So I have been teaching computers. I have been teaching computer literacy, computer software in my own company and visiting companies, corporations, and doing classes as part of the work that I was doing. And then, so I had experience teaching in front of a classroom. I had experience using a whiteboard, and I had experience both in explaining concepts and giving people the opportunity to learn those concepts themselves hands-on. So when I got to China and there wasn't much IT work there, for me, I knew English, and I was a native American English speaker with a pretty good pronunciation and a pretty good knowledge of the language. And that made me quite valuable there. So I switched completely my career and I became an English teacher. I did that for years and years. And I'm still doing some of that today. And so you've got to be flexible. You've got to learn. You've got to be able to say, wow, I'm conscious that this environment is no longer appropriate for me. I'm not going to go out and pick it. I'm going to learn a new skill. I'm going to change gears. I'm going to see what's needed and what I can offer, how I can have meaning, how I can have value to others. That's really an important thing. Next one, 3 more here. One is persevering. So if we persevere, we don't give up. As long as you are in touch with your heart, as long as you know that this is your destiny is to fulfill that. You know that, you get a sense, you get a feeling. It's completely out of this world. There's no specific indicator that I could say that's physical or mental. You just know when it's right, and you get that feeling. Sometimes what we know is right, it's going to be right for the next 5 minutes, and then it's going to change. But we've got to go through that door, right? So if my destiny lies on the other side of that door, my destiny right now, my goal, my dream is to get through that door, go through that open door. Once I'm through that door, that's no longer the goal. That's not what's happening anymore. So when you're learning, when you're conscious, when you're aware, and when you're in touch with your heart, you take it one step at a time. And, okay, right now, what I have to do is this. This is this one specific thing. But maybe it's only going to last a very short period of time. You get through that phase, and then, oh, okay. Like an airplane has to go the wrong direction sometimes because they have to fly in a certain direction, and then they have to, be in touch with that control center and then take a turn and go another way. They don't always go completely straight. So you're not always going to go completely straight, even though I had a dream to be an actor. What the heck am I doing in Oklahoma? Because there's not a big movie industry in Oklahoma, and I want to be a movie star. Well, maybe, just maybe, as it may occur, a famous director is doing a film in Oklahoma at the time, and you could be an extra, and you could meet that director, you could meet the casting director, something like that. And being in Oklahoma at that time, even though you never would have thought that, we have to accept where we're at, be conscious of where we're at, and look for opportunities. And the opportunity may not always be in LA right away, not right now. It may be where you're at in Oklahoma. But your heart will guide you. And you'll know, okay, I get the feeling this is the right thing right now. I need to be here right now, and you're patient, you deal with that. You persevere, you keep the focus on what the dream is, and you don't give up. You don't say, oh, that's not for me. You ask your heart again, wait, is this really what I do? I really want to be an actor? Yeah, I do. I really want to be that. Okay. Then you keep on that and you look for opportunities. And the opportunities, like I said, the logistics will handle themselves. Keep the intention clear, keep the focus clear. Nurturing, nurture yourself. You need to nurture yourself. You need to know what you need and what you want. I've already mentioned that. And then the last one is oneness. This oneness thing is a little bit like this guardian angel thing. When you know that I'm just playing a role in this world, we're all in the same world, we're all in the same play, we're all in the same performance, we're all in the same game of life. And being in this game of life, I've got the role that I play. I need to know who my character is. And that's knowing the dreams of your heart and being in touch with your heart. Then you know the role to play. I'm a construction worker. I'm gonna be the best construction worker. I love to be out there building buildings, and I love doing that. Whatever it is that you really love to do, that you really enjoy, you like to see that building come up, and you like to visit it a couple months later or several months later when people are in there working in the offices. I helped build this place. I put those walls up. I put those beams up. I did the electricity. for this place, and look at how well it's working. I'm proud of that. I contributed that. I loved doing that. It was joy and happiness. It was my destiny. We know our role in the world. We know that we're all one. This guy does the electricity. This guy does the plumbing. This person does the paintings. I put the paintings on the wall. This person is the manager of the department once the building is built. We're all part of this dance. We're all working together as part of this dance. There's a oneness going on, and there's a comfort in that, knowing that there is harmony, there is a plan, there is a scheme to the world, and I'm going to play my role. And the best thing for me to know is look for my own happiness, look for my own joy, look for what my heart is telling me, and pursue that and be that and contribute that, not only to myself, because when I'm helping others, I feel a joy inside, and that helps me. When we find out who we are and we do that, we pursue that, it's perfection. I mean, that's what the world is all about. That's what happiness is all about. Okay, so why do people have so much trouble in life? Because love isn't being taught. So people don't get a chance to actualize because they don't know about what love is. But love is the core, love is the key, love is the foundation to becoming the best you could possibly be. So Love Buddy, we study and we teach love. Life Buddy is a website. I originally created the website called LifeBridge. And then I was broke, and the project, I didn't know what direction the project was going. I thought maybe I could think of another name. LifeBridge was an excellent name. I sold it for $20,000. And then I came up with Life Buddy. So now there's Love Buddy and Life Buddy and some other projects that use this word buddy, B-U-D-I. It just means friend. But anyway, if you want to look at Life Buddy, there's a link here. Every week I share some tips about finding yourself and about living a better life, becoming you, having meaning in your life, having the joy and happiness that comes from pursuing who you are. There are some other links here too, some ideas about the community work and some courses that are going to be available. There's going to be a course in actualization, self-actualization, just what I was talking about today. A course that you can get from the internet. I'm working on it now. It's not done, and it helps to give you exercises, and it helps to walk you through. There's a coaching component that helps to walk you through finding yourself and living the life of your dreams, because I know it's so much needed, and there's so many people who are not living their dreams, who've given up on their dreams, and that's just such a tragedy. And I really want to see people live their dreams. Makes them happy, makes me happy to see them live their dreams, and it also helps the world. And if we're not living our dreams, we can't have a dream world, can we? Okay, so this has been a discussion about self-actualization, personal development, and how love is the foundation for that. And if you don't know love, you can't do it. And anybody who does personally develop, they know these things. They did these things, whether they call it love or not. These are the core things that help us to actualize and become the most beautiful expression of who we are and our part in this world. Okay, my name is Matthew, and this is Love Buddy. Have a wonderful day. I love you.